everybody and welcome back to another episode of Tanami Desert Zoo. Today we are building for the penguins and it is one of the last episodes which we will have of the zoo as it will be finished up soon. So next week we will have another habitat speed build and then we will already have the last video which is just me touring my own zoo, which will be a bit weird but I'm used to it, so let's see. And in this video now we have around 7 or 6 or something minutes left of the speed build before we go into the cinematics. I made sure to have a rather long cinematics, just as always, having some shots of the animal in the habitat. So if you want to check that out, it is in the chapter mark. If you are new to the series and you like this content, don't forget to also check out the rest of the playlist, because as it's coming to a close, this means there's a lot of content there of how this zoo was constructed and a little bit more like on it being a challenge zoo and so on. If you have been following, I don't want to repeat this again because everybody of you has already heard it. Anyhow, we are building for the little African penguins and I nestled them in here in front of the cheetahs and next to the springbok and the gamsbok habitat. Of course, they need an underwater viewing area. We have long moved on from this desert zoo being like a dry zoo. We have a lot of water, a lot of plants here, so this one I thought would not kill it off as much. It's just, you know, a nice little place where they put some water and made it to a nice tourist attraction. And maybe there's, you know, some natural oasis thing going on that they just used. I don't know. So we are building here like the path for this habitat to also have an view on the penguins from above, like from the or eye level or whatever you call it, but not just in the underwater but also in their habitat, walking around. And I really like how it turns out in the end. And then the problem was the gamsbok and the springbok here to the left. If you haven't seen it, there's a video of how this was built. Anyhow, the ones to the left, they are very stressed, so I wanted to have some separation here. And this is like the neat little trick that I think every builder in Planet Zoo knows or uses, and if you don't, now's the time to learn it, which is that you build one thing which then you replicate all over to use it again. Only problem here was, well, I had some issues with how the, not the turning, but the angles were. Like whenever I wanted to replicate it, it was not super easy for some reason. You know, this box, it was not as smooth as I hoped it would be, but then you see it still somehow worked out and we got a little like shield view, and also at the same time the guests have a little place to also be shielded by themselves, because of course Planet Zoo guests also need some shadow if they are visiting in the desert, so it's always good to have this in the viewing area. Here you also see one of my things, like editing the habitat while working on another habitat, which is why sometimes there might be something in the cinematics which you have not seen in the speed build. Well, yeah, I'm not perfect. I'm not gonna say that I am. But yeah, let's get back to the build. So, I really love the African penguins, and the thing is that later on I decided to have quite a lot of them in here because their space requirements are quite low, and I think in the end in the cinematics you will see I have a bit too many, but I also, like you see, they have a lot of land, they have a lot of water. At the start this was not clear, but later I decided to add another little pool in the back, which is maybe a bit more private swimming. I mean, it's still not private because the guests can still look into it, but not everybody from the front view. Anyhow, like that pool was a little bit less like designed also with the underwater section and so on. I also reused like these little nice African, how do you call that, umbrellas? Is that an umbrella still? Anyhow, you know what I mean. And just to get this little flair here, and I really like to use like this whole themed like African thatch stuff. I don't know, I just really love the thatch roofs, and for some reason I actually stick to, like in Africa, using the African, and then South America the South American one, even though it doesn't really matter, does it? I mean, I got there like a ticket for protesters. This is because I leave the game running, but my animals are all happy, don't you dare to say otherwise. Most likely it's just, you know, some overcrowding or something. Nothing serious, nothing anybody would be concerned about. Yeah, so here we are shielding it off with a bit of the stones, just making sure that there's some separation and the guests don't hold their hands in, because I think the penguins can still like bite into your finger and that should not be too comfortable. And we already have a baby penguin. Nice. And here, yes, we come to the underwater design. One of the most important things when you have an underwater viewing area is to not let it look like a blank pool. And this one I really went like a bit crazy, like a lot of stones and plants and so on. But I really like how it turns out in the end. Anyhow, I didn't want to say anyhow so much, but I do. So anyhow, we are coming to the end of the video, of the speed build at least, before we jump into the cinematics. So let me take this moment again to remind you, if you like this video so far, please leave me a like, leave me a comment, and of course, if you want to see what else I'm up to, also hit the subscribe button. Once Tanami Zoo is like up and published, I will make sure to publish another video of Steinheimer Zoo, my other project, which has been a bit not abandoned, but there has not been so much content yet, and maybe even something of Prehistoric Kingdoms, so let's see about that. I'm still trying to get the handle on all the crazy possibilities we have there. But yeah, this is it for Tanami Desert Zoo for this week. We will be back next Sunday with another episode, and I hope to see you again then, and until then, I hope you have a lovely time. Bye!